Hello. Andrea. Hello. Okay. So live stream on YouTube, super chat. Yes, I'm back. And this time I hope you can hear me. So first of all, I just want to say hello to everyone. Good evening. In England, it's actually the evening. So good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me so much. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for your patience from last week. So it's a case of YouTube Live. Yay! An opportunity to talk to you guys live is amazing. So I'm glad that I have persisted with what I am doing. I do feel a little bit nervous. It's such a different experience from when you're making your own video tutorials. So I'm finding that experience a bit hard, that I'm just looking at you guys and, well, not really looking at you guys, but you know what I mean. But it's I'm hoping to use this platform a little bit more. So hopefully I'll get a little bit more relaxed. Calm down, Colleen. Yay. And hopefully this is going to be a platform that I want to use on a regular basis, Q&A, because it'd be so nice to actually engage with you through the chat system, and hopefully any questions and answers that I can answer live, rather than just going to your comments and coming along those lines. So with all that said, I am going to be telling you a little bit about my journey into fashion sewing and how I got started. So how long have I been sewing now? Years and years and years. Yeah, a lot of years. My mum first taught me how to sew. That's where my skills first started. Did some at school. Didn't like my teacher at school. And back then in school it was called needlework. Because it involved a lot of different items that we actually made. And I suppose if I say needlework, it really makes it sound really old. And it perhaps is. But it's really my mum. I've got to thank my mum, my lovely, gorgeous mum, for the skills that I have, for her pushing me when I didn't want to be creative. And it was either sewing or knitting or crochet. Yeah, I could do a bit of the other two as well, crochet and knitting, but I think my passion was definitely sewing. And I think that came because it was an opportunity to be creative and wear something that I've made and I've designed. And and it was quicker as well. You could see the results a lot quicker when you actually made your own outfit in fabric, rather than taking time to knit. So that's how my journey started into making my own garments. The love of fashion. My dad, he loves fashion. He's a very dapper person. But I think I can put it down to my school friends, really, my sisters, my mum as well, because my mum made all our clothes. She made my sister's clothes, she made our clothes, my brother's clothes. So I was always around that creative environment where my mum was concerned in order to make my own clothes. And it was also a time when it's a thing that you did. It was a dying art, because we're talking back of the 70s, when I was making my own clothes. So it was kind of like a dying art, and back then it's like there's an opportunity to actually go out and buy your own clothes, because for teenagers around about that period there was a lot of excitement that we could no longer have to look like our mothers. Yeah, I love my mums to death. but the teenage range of clothing came around that time, and it's a case of really couldn't really afford to buy my own stuff, so it's cheaper to get fabric and make my own. So that's how I more or less started my journey into sewing. One of the skills that I really, really hated doing was putting in a zip. I say zip and it's zipper. Oh, I so hated putting in zips or zippers. I used to always try to get my mum to put my zippers in, and she would do it. She really would do it. And then there was a time when she said no. And I'm like, really, mother? You're not going to do this for me? And then I really got used to doing zips, and I quite enjoy them now. I quite enjoy putting them in, but that is one of the most difficult ones for me to do. Is there any kind of particular technique that you struggle with that you didn't like doing? If you just put that in the chat and let me know, would be really great. So, yes, I do have a question.
Susu929 asks, what is your favourite pattern company or indie pattern?
You know what, I don't really have a favourite sewing pattern, but if I was pushed, I would have to say that Butterick sewing patterns fit me better. But I actually do make my own patterns. I actually have patterns that I got for years and years and years, so I just draft around my blocks and then I just do my own patterns. So yeah, good question. That's an important one. Yes, another question.
How to Cat asks, hello from New Jersey.
Hello.
I wanted to know if you sold anything online, and do you attach clothing care labels? If so, how do you do that? Because I am thinking of selling online, but don't want to break any laws.
Yes, definitely do put clothing care labels into your garments. That's definitely a must, because I think it's unfair to the customer. They need to know how to care for the garments that you're making. So yeah, be careful, because you don't want to be breaking any laws. What was the other part of that question?
How do you do that? Because I'm thinking of selling online, but don't want to break any laws.
You can put it in during construction or after construction. I would say during construction, so it's probably one of the last techniques before you actually complete the garment, but I would think it was easier during construction. But then again, it does depend on the kind of label you are putting in. So yeah, do bear that in mind, but do make sure you do that. You don't want to break any laws. And next question.
Susu929 asks, I really struggle with neck opening plackets. Any help you can give to make it easier?
Neck opening plackets. Stay stitching. Stay stitching is a very good idea. When you're actually sewing curved shapes, you need to make sure that you don't disturb it. So stay stitching helps to make sure that the weaves of the fabric are kind of locked together so that it isn't stretched. And you can find that when you put in more pressure onto a curved neckline, that it probably stands away a little bit or it doesn't meet correctly. So I would advise stay stitching first. That's a good one, actually. I think necklines are always the most important part of a garment, because you want to make sure it frames your face, so it's important. And I always stay stitch. Depending on the fabric that you're using, if you're having quite a few problems, you can always put a little bit of fusible interfacing would help as well. And also bear in mind fabric. I've got to say, with one of the questions I always get all the time is, it's really hard sometimes for me to give a true answer to questions along those lines, because I don't know necessarily the fabrics that you're working with. And one key thing that I will tell anybody who's going to make clothing for themselves, understand the fabric that you're working with. Don't think it's because it's pretty, it's gorgeous, you've got to have it, you've got to sew it. No, think about the fabric that you're working with, because that could be the biggest turn off from you making garments for yourself. Start with easier fabrics and then work your way to more difficult and more intricate fabrics. So So that would be the question that I would advise anyone to do. So definitely stay stitching on curved lines. Going back to my journey into sewing, I talked about my mum and also about school. One of the reasons why I wanted to be a YouTuber, it came around a little bit, I wouldn't say necessarily by mistake, but I do remember the first time I did my YouTube video in order for it to be uploaded. And you may not believe this, but it actually took 5 hours for a 10-minute video. Yeah, 5 hours, 10 minutes. I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but I just couldn't get it right. I was painting at one point. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I didn't know what I was doing-ish. All I knew is that my husband was a cameraman and my gorgeous cat, was his assistant. And I actually wish we filmed that day, because it would have been such a gorgeous memory to have. But I don't know how I managed to still be here several years later after that first experience. And it really did take me about 5 hours. I had notes and prompts everywhere. At one point I had it on the cat. At one point it was on my husband's forehead. I couldn't get things right. Words were coming out gobbledygook. The technique that I was using was yeah, it was a good experience. But at the time it was like, when I uploaded that first video, it's like, I can't do this again. 5 hours for roughly about a 10-minute video. This is something else. This is an experience I don't think I want to repeat. I love to teach. I so love to teach. But doing it via video, I wasn't sure whether that was going to happen again. But once I watched the video over and over again, it's like, there's something here. You know, if I can get all my camera angles right, and if I remember my words, and I think just be natural. And I think that was the key. Just to be natural, just to be me, even though it wasn't focused on me, it's the technique I needed to get right. And I think that's what I struggled in the beginning, because I think maybe I was showing too much of me and I wanted to focus on a technique. And I think that is the key to FSBTV, is that I like to focus on the technique that I'm teaching and keep it short and to the point, and also making sure that people understand that it is a technique that can be done within that time scale in which I've done it, maybe a little bit longer, because I need to shorten it a bit as well. So yeah, that was an amazing experience, my first YouTube video tutorial. I think that would have been an amazing one to actually upload to YouTube, so everyone can see how difficult I made it for myself in order to do that first video. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. So going back to my YouTube experience, yeah, I'll always remember that. But one of the reasons why I started Fashion Sewing Blog TV is that I've been teaching for many years. I'm a qualified teacher and a qualified lecturer, so I qualified in fashion design, garment construction and pattern cutting. I'm a very good pattern cutter, but I'm a very creative one. So some of the garments that I used to design and make, could you get into it? Debatable. But yes, go on, babe. Question.
Susu929 asks, do you have a favourite sewing machine or serger?
Favourite sewing machines? How many sewing machines have I got now? Yeah, I think sewing machines are more or less the same, but I do think the older machines, modern day sewing machines, are excellent, brilliant, and I really couldn't do without a modern day sewing machine. But I do love my old Benina. Yeah, I think because they're sturdy, they are such a sturdy machine. But the beauty and the advantages of a modern day sewing machine is yeah, is on point. I've got to give it, yeah, it's getting better and it's getting better. But I would say, yeah, definitely it would be a Benina, but I'm not using a Benina right now. I've got Benina Janome and also a Brother sewing machine. Overlockers or a serger. I think with sergers it's a lot. They are a simpler sewing machine to use, and I think most sergers are capable of doing what they need to do because they're very simplistic in design, because more or less their primary function is to neaten off seams. Yes, you can use it in a decorative format, but primarily that's how people use it. I think with the overlocker or a serger, you just have to make sure it's a very sturdy machine, because you can get some that are cheaper and they are rickety and they move, and stay away from those ones. And they're also very inexpensive, but it's worthwhile having one. Hope that answers your question. Yes.
Kelly Cook asks, I too would like to know what kind of serger you'd suggest for a person purchasing their first.
I would say, I really don't like to mention brands, but I'll probably say a Janome. Yeah, a Janome sewing machine.
Gillian Kirby asks, when adding a placket to a blouse, is it considered to be part of the pattern, and should it be cut as part of the pattern?
Part of the pattern? Are you talking about the pattern within the garment? Are you trying to, because if you're trying to match up with the pattern within the fabric, it's personal choice. Yes, if you're the type of person who needs to have symmetry with everything, yeah, then match it up. If you don't, which is probably me, you don't have to. But yeah, it's really about fashion sewing. Can I just say, fashion sewing really is about your choice and what you want to make of whatever it is you're making. You don't necessarily have to stick to what the sewing pattern is telling you to do. You don't have to do that. Yeah. Next question.
Kaja Brinson asks, what type of fabric would you recommend for sewing boys' pants in climates that are consistently 80 degrees or hotter, like in Haiti?
Wow. Definitely cotton. I can understand when I say cotton and linen, but if you can get a blend, so let's say it's 80% cotton or 80% linen, and the next percentage would be polyester, because polyester will help it not to crease as much, but make sure it's going to be an 80-20. But wow, that's nice temperature. We could do with some of that in England right now. Come on, yes, next question.
Susu929 asks, should you get a cover stitch machine as well as a serger, or is that just not necessary?
If you're doing a lot of cover stitching on garments, yes. And if you're heading towards running your own business, then yeah. But if not, if you're going to be doing like 2 or 3 items per month of cover stitching, maybe it's just the neckline or the hemline or the sleeves or the bottom of the garment, I would stick with using a sewing machine and doing your twin needles. Yeah, and personally that's what I would do. But if I was heading towards if I'm making for family and friends, and it seems to be family and friends are getting bigger and bigger, and you're getting family members you didn't know you had, then perhaps then. But twin needle, sewing machine, yeah. Definitely down that route. But good question now. That's a very good question to ask, yeah. So back to my story. The reason why I started FSBTV. 2 reasons, I think. Really, I enjoyed when I started watching YouTube, and it's while I was in the classroom that I heard about YouTube from students and doing things that they shouldn't be doing, as these young students do, filming teachers. And I was told I was being filmed and uploaded to a place called YouTube. Had no idea what YouTube was and what it did, didn't understand it. But in a classroom, it's very hard to stop students from using their phones. because it's their personal property. And then kind of, I don't know how long it was before I stumbled on YouTube, and then I found YouTube and it's like, oh, this could be very good actually. You know, an opportunity for actually me to teach the way I want to teach. Yes, rather than someone telling me how I had to teach. It was definitely a case of a great opportunity for me to teach the way I wanted to teach. And I have no regrets, because you guys have been so supportive in the fact that my teaching methods were how I wanted to teach in a classroom. But when you're working for an organisation or something like that, it can be a case of that you're having to, you know, do more or less what is asked of you, and not necessarily enjoying it. So the fact that I knew keeping techniques as simple and straight to the point was a way forward, and I've got to thank you guys for letting me know that I knew that I was right. That sounds so big-headed, doesn't it? But it's true though. It is true, because in the classroom, the thing about teaching in the classroom, and the greatest experience me as a teacher that I've had as a teacher and as a lecturer, is that you're in an environment where you have between 25 to 30 students with all different levels of learning and communicating their creativity. And if I was going to give any advice to anybody who wanted to be in an environment where they are teaching others, be in a classroom in that sort of environment where you're under tremendous pressure to get these students to complete a particular task. And that can be the biggest challenge for you building your skills as a communicator of education. Yes, babe.
The Soulful asks, what's the best machine for sewing sportswear and reversible wear?
Okay. Best. You know, the answer to this is that if you want to find out which is going to be the best sewing machine for you, the thing that you can do is go into a sewing machine store, bring samples of fabric with you, because they should be able to allow you to test certain machines and then make your decision then. Because I can't say to you that go and perhaps, you know, try, for example, you know, a Janome sewing machine and maybe that's the best one, because they are pretty good. Whichever brand you go for, they are pretty good, but you need to find a machine that suits you. Because once you sit at a sewing machine, forget about the brand, just sit at it and see how it feels. Does it feel comfortable? Because you sometimes find with some sewing machine they can be invading your space a little bit. I know it sounds strange, but they can. You may want a machine that sits away from you a little bit, so the bed is towards you more. So it's all about the feel. It really isn't about the brand. So I would advise for you to go along and test, and you should be able to bring samples of fabric for you to test. I hope that answers your question. I really do. Yes.
Susu929 asks, what do you think about scuba fabrics? I haven't used them yet. Do you use them, and what would you use them for?
The name of the fabric is?
Scuba.
Oh, scuba fabric. Oh yeah, that's a new fabric that's about. No, I haven't. I haven't used them yet. Definitely used in sportswear. Would I have a go? Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to do a video tutorial about how to use this particular fabric. At the moment, it is a case of, if you're gonna use scuba fabric, from what I'm led to believe, just make sure it's a fabric that is breathable, because a lot of them are not breathable, so be careful which particular item you're going to be making. It's like with polyester. If you're going to use 100% polyester, you know, think about what particular garment you're going to be using it for. Is it the top or the bottom? Preferably the top. So just be careful about how you're going to use scuba. I do believe, from what I've heard and seen, it's quite easy to sew, particularly to serge or overlock. So yeah, I would definitely do tests on different fabrics to see how it goes. But yeah, I'll definitely do a tutorial on using scuba fabrics. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Can I put a question out there as well that I would love to know, because the future in which I want FSBTV to go, which stands for Fashion Sewing Blog TV, is that YouTube are making lots of changes, a lot of changes right now, and one of them being Super Chat Live, which is an amazing experience, and yeah, I'm enjoying it now that I've settled down a bit. I'm enjoying it. So I want to know if you can put in the chats how you would want me to use the live chat in particular. You know, is it a case, because I think it's going to be quite difficult to come and do a technique. Yeah, because I haven't actually worked that out in my head, but I've tried to, but I think it's going to be quite difficult doing a technique in a Q&A live session. So if you have any suggestions, maybe you can put them in the chats, and then I can, you know, go into that and see if that works. I've got another question.
Susu929 asks, do you have any fit issues that you struggle with or used to struggle with? Would you recommend making your own slopers?
Absolutely, make your own sloper. I call them twirls, but yeah, if it's going to be a garment, particularly a fitted garment, then absolutely make a twirl or a sloper. The thing is that you want beautiful clothes, and if you want beautiful clothes, a two-dimensional pattern, which is a flat pattern, whether it's a tissue pattern or a downloadable pattern, won't necessarily achieve your perfect fit, because it isn't designed for you. It's designed for hundreds of thousands of women. So you have to make some kind of adjustment to that pattern. And I don't think, I'm going to put myself out there, I don't think sewing pattern companies tell us that enough, that it is just a general blueprint that you will have to make some kind of adjustment to. And the best way to make that kind of adjustment is that you can either do a fitting with the tissue paper, a little bit harder if you're using A4 paper, but if you're using tissue, you can hopefully not tearing the pattern, but you can always put interfacing on the back of it, and that helps, and it'll feel a bit more like fabric. But I would definitely do a twirl or a sample garment, and then make your adjustments on that sample garment, and then transfer that onto paper. That'll be the best fit you'll have. So that will be the way forward to go. So the future of Fashion Sewing Vlog TV, about using live chat, how so just let me know in the chat how you think that'll be going. I also want to do sew-alongs. One or two of you have mentioned that that you'd like me to do sew-alongs. I think when they first started, I used to do quite a lot of sew-alongs on my website, and now they're coming back. People are coming back to do sew-alongs, so I'll always do it in a series of sew-alongs. So that's another thought that's going through my mind at the moment. I also want to definitely do transforming old clothes, refashioning old clothes, and the reason for that is I'm so passionate about the fact that the young generation that are coming up now don't understand fashion. They think fashion is a throwaway, which you can't help them with. That it's a throwaway thing, and fashion is more than just that. And I'm going to answer this question before moving on.
Susu929 asks, sorry to monopolise with all these questions.
Oh, no, Susu, that's fine.
But do you think a home-taught sewist, a bit older than some, can really manage to master pattern fitting without a formal class?
Hello, absolutely, yes, yeah, wherever. Personally, I think that if you are learning from home or you're self-taught, there isn't that restriction. when you're in a certain environment, there are restrictions, there's timings, there's, you know, certain tasks that you have to cover. So if you are working from home and you're fitting, it's a bit difficult if you're fitting yourselves, but if you are fitting yourself, the best thing to do is take photographs. Get your phone, take photographs, look in the mirror, and kind of like do a 360 degree turn. That's what I've done now. It's so good. That's another video tutorial I could do as well, I think, about, yeah, if I can manage to do that. It's quite difficult, but yeah, take photographs of your fittings. It's one of the best ways now of learning. Isn't technology amazing? And that's how I use it whenever I'm sewing for myself, yeah, and I'm finding that I can't get the fit that I want. It's usually the phone there, click, and then I've got a picture. Yeah, that's a good tip. That's a good tip to bear in mind. So the future of FSBTV, sew-alongs, how I could use chat a little bit more, live chat, Q&As, if this is sort of things. I would have a topic and then I'll do a Q&A, so you can come along and I'll chat and tell you about a certain topic, and you know, obviously you would participate. The sew-alongs is definitely something I very much consider, and I would definitely do the refashioning of garments, yeah, because I do want the younger generation now to understand that fashion isn't about, or sewing isn't about, it has to be thrown away the once you've worn it. And that's the beauty with sewing, is that there are so many memories in those garments that you're making. Yeah, there's so many times you've had to, you know, unpick that seam and you just think, oh, I'll just kind of hide it away. No, there are so many memories when you're making your own clothing, and I just think it's important that we do start to sew a lot more for ourselves now, and that time is here and that time is now, and you guys are making that a sensational environment in which to say making your own clothes can be rewarding. It can be rewarding on so many different levels, which is, you know, we'll talk about that another time. Actually, I think I'll make an amazing chat session there. But the fact that so many clothing is going into landfills, no, it's not good. But what I found recently, since I've done a couple of refashioning of old clothes, is that I've never really gone into stores unless I'm looking for inspiration and bought clothing. But I'm quite enjoying going to the charity shop, as we call them here, and looking through old clothes. There's some memories in some of them old clothes. It's like, I remember my mum had something similar to that, and yeah, it's quite an experience. But I do like to go into fabric shops, as we all do. We're all very passionate about our fabric shops, and more often than not, yeah, I think most times, yeah, I do lead with fabric. Even if I'm just going for some notions, I tend to lead with fabrics as well. Yeah, I just can't help myself. Yes, another question.
Jacqueline Robinson asks, do you like to cut single layers instead of on the fold?
Oh, good question. You know, it's all about space. I don't have that much space, so it'll be on the fold. Yeah, it'll definitely be half patterns, and yeah, it'll be on the fold. The old knees can't take it anymore. But there have been times where I've done a full pattern and it's been on the floor. But usually if I put anything on the floor, I usually got company, which is my cat, who wants to investigate. So yeah, it's definitely on the fold. Yes.
Lesofo asks, any tips on sewing shorts to your own fit? Sewing first pair of shorts and struggling with getting the pattern right. The waist ended up being too big on my mock.
The waist ended up being too big on your mock. Okay. It will be a case of, in order to get a better fit, you need to work on your side seams and work on your centre back seam first, and take as much out on the side seam and then centre back, and then if it's still a little bit too big, then work a little bit on the front centre seam. But it could be a case of maybe changing the design of the shorts, because if you're having, like, I'm not saying that you have, but if your hips are kind of like a good size larger than your waistline, maybe think about redesigning it a little bit, or making sure that it sits a little bit below your natural waistline, and perhaps you get a better fit. And if you're doing that, then you're going to have to think about, I'm telling you too much here, aren't I? Then if you're doing that, then you may just have to fold out some of the crotch area to make sure that it feels comfortable. So that is going to be, take some out of the back and the side seams first. And then if it looks though you need to take out a little bit more, then it's either a case of taking some out the front. If you can't do the front, don't let it sit on your natural waistline, just let it drop. But if you let it drop, then you're going to need to shorten the crotch a little bit so it feels comfortable. I hope that helps. So that's going back to refashioning of old clothing. So yeah, I've enjoyed doing that, and let me know in the chats if you want me to do a bit more of the refashioning part of the fashion sewing venture, because I really do think that I'd like to keep on top of that, because I want to inspire the next generation of young people to sew, and I believe that is one of my methods. So yeah, thumbs up for that. I hope you all are behind me on that one. Next question.
Kelly Cook asks, how about using YouTube Live after you air a technique video to go in depth on the technique and to take questions to further explain it?
That is a good idea. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that'd be a very good one to do, that one. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that'd be very, very good. Yeah, I think that's definitely, I'll definitely think about that. Yeah, I'm going to have to work that through. You've given me a lot of homework to do. So I'm thinking about the sew-alongs, definitely the refashioning of own clothes, because it's one way of us doing our bit as fashion sewers to refashion old clothing, and it's a good idea to have a bit of both. Ones that you've made in fabrics, because they've got memories with them, and then refashioning of old clothes, doing our bit of sustainability, and making sure that the fashion sewing community, or people who sew, do their bit. Like the fashion industry should be doing their bit, we will do our bit. So definitely the refashioning of old clothing. Q&A, doing a technique and then doing a Q&A after I've uploaded the video. Definitely a good idea, and it's definitely something I'll definitely think about. Moving forward with the fashion sewing vlog, the next thing I've got is, because I've had quite a few people ask me about, they're not sure what to put, a certain top with a pair of trousers or a skirt. So I would like an opportunity to show you how I like to put my sewing projects together. So I'm possibly thinking about doing outfit of the week, so I can tell you how to put a sewing project together with other items in your closet. Yes.
Susu929 asks,
Hi,
do you
Susu.
prefer cutting out with scissors or rotary cutters, and weights or pins?
I would say it would be scissors, because I've been doing that for many years, but I do like the technique of using a rotary cutter, but you need a cutting mat. Definitely, if you're using rotary cutters, have a cutting mat. And it's so hard to get cutting mats, and I've used in the past cardboard, but they don't last very long, obviously. But I've gotten used to scissors, so but if I had the opportunity to get some massive those resealing mats, I would definitely think a rotary cutter would be the way forward. Pins or weights? Yeah, and you know what, it's about 50-50. I've got really big weights, and I'm not sure whether it's because I use big weights because it's quicker, or whether it's because I'm lazy. But for many years I've used pins, so I don't really have a favourite. I think it depends on the fabric that I'm using. If I'm definitely using more delicate fabric, then yeah, I will pin. More slippery, fluid fabrics, then I would pin. But if it's more sturdy fabrics, then I tend to use a weight. So I'll say it's 50-50. Yeah.
Jacqueline Robinson asks, when you take ready-made clothes apart, how do you find the straight of grain?
Ah, that's a good one. I've got a technique on this on scrap fabric, and it's a technique of using a pencil, and you mark the pencil. If the straight of grain will give you a straight line, so when you actually take a garment apart and you want to find a straight of grain, get a pencil, make sure it's quite tall, and draw on it, and the straight of the line is going to give you the straight which grain line it's going to be. So that's a good tip. So go and search my channel. I think it's finding the straight grain on scrap fabrics. That should hopefully help you to identify the straight grain in good question though. Yeah, really good question. So that would be definitely the case of that it's the way forward, and I'd like your ideas and suggestions to make sure that I'm keeping on track with what I'm doing. And sorry about my voice. My voice is plays up from time to time, and so I hope that this evening has really gone well, and I've finally gotten my first live super chat on YouTube. It's a bit nerve-wracking to begin with, but I've settled in. I've enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Could you let me know in the chats if you've enjoyed it, and you look forward to seeing another one, because I'm definitely up for that. The idea of doing a technique and then having a follow-up with a Q&A would be really good. I like that. That'll be good. If you do have any more suggestions about what you're looking for from the channel, please also put that into the chat, and I will definitely do my best to make sure that I think about it and see how I can incorporate it into my uploading of videos to YouTube. So my voice is going a little bit, so I am going to thank you all very much for coming along and staying with me while I do this live chat, and I wish you all the best, and remember to keep fashion sewing, and I will see you next time.